On August, I think it was mid-August, police entered my home unannounced. 2 men entered my bedroom. I was watching TV on my laptop naked, and it was the dark, and I saw 2 figures by my door. And of course, as a woman, that's very frightening.
Yeah.
As a woman who's also experienced sexual assault, you know, the first thing you think to yourself, you're going to get raped. They did not announce themselves. They did not say that they were police officers. I jumped up from my bed. I grabbed my... Germans shy away from race. I tell them about my issue in Germany and my experiences. I've been given the all hail Hitler sign. I've been followed home 4 times by white men. I have been spit on. And when I tell them these are my experiences, there is a complete denialism. Black men in Germany are treated way differently than Black women in Germany. The level of mental degradation on all fronts, whatever
It's
level of
sickening.
immigration, devoid of being black, purple, green, yellow, immigration is so hard. Everything about your world is turned upside down. And I'm only here now for the citizenship because I've dedicated 4 years of my life. And there's 1 more year to be eligible. And then I'm taking the first ticket out of here.
Hi guys, welcome back to Onlyfacts podcast. I am Alison, your host for today, and next to me I have...
As always, Lorenzo here, and hi guys, welcome back.
Today we have an interesting topic, and I'm going to let the guest introduce herself. We're going to be speaking about surviving as a Black woman abroad, basically, or overseas. So please could you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Shara Sunny. I'm Nigerian Canadian. I moved to Berlin 4 years ago, and I have a public relations agency. I'm a writer for Rolling Stones Africa and GNC magazine, and I'm also a model.
Okay.
Amazing.
Multi-talented. I love that. Let me just actually get straight to the point without going on and on and on. How do you feel in Berlin? How are you feeling settled? Is it something is it a place that you can call home already?
No, Berlin is a means to an end. I came here on a modeling contract, and then I did that for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and I transitioned towards starting a business. And I'm only here now for the citizenship because I've dedicated 4 years of my life, and there's one more year to be eligible, and then I'm taking the first ticket out of here.
Okay.
I feel you.
That's actually interesting. Oh, are you planning this out as well?
I'm sorry, but I when you were speaking, I was just like, you know what?
Yeah.
I feel you. I've been here for 5 years now as well, and I don't feel like it's home.
No, not at all. I feel like it's, like I said, a means to an end, and that's a hard feeling to have with a place that you spend 99% of your time, because it feels like you are in transit, and you never fully feel relaxed and satiated in a space. So it's quite difficult actually to exist with the knowingness that you will leave.
Do you feel like this is just for us as Black women, or just for foreigners in general?
I think Berlin is known, like, colloquially as a transient city. I think people stay here, they get what they can, and then they move on to greener pastures. It's a safe landing space or place if you're looking for somewhere to move in Europe that is economically friendly and allows you to have a little bit of prosperity. Considering I come from Canada and the price of living is astronomical. So moving to somewhere like Berlin was relatively inexpensive for me, given the relativity. But yeah, I think this space for Black women is not designed for our mental benefits. I think if you come from a background of high capitalism like North America, where I come from, I think you can succeed in industry. Because I don't believe people here have the same value, hold very high values towards work and output and productivity. I think it's a very laissez-faire culture, which is totally fine. So I think people who were born and bred in environments where working hard was intrinsic to their very nature, I think you can do quite well here. But as for Black women existing here, I think it's very debilitating on our overall health, mental, physical. I know that since I moved here, my health has significantly declined. I was a person that never had to go to doctors and never took medication, never struggled really with any physiological issues until I moved to Germany.
Even mentally, I would say.
Yeah, I think the mental degradation that you face as a woman of color here is unmatched. And I've lived in 3 continents. I will be going to my 4th in December, Australia. And I've traveled quite frequently. And this is the only country where I feel not at ease bodily.
Absolutely.
And mentally immobilized.
You seem to be very well traveled.
Yeah.
Which is good. If you don't mind me asking, why is it that, you know, you don't feel comfortable here? You're Canadian. Canada seems to be a very sustainable and very stable country economically. If you don't mind me asking, why is it that you decide? Because I have a feeling people will then ask, like, okay, what are you doing here? That's what they always do. They always ask, okay, if you're not happy, so go back to your country.
Exactly. I mean, I get that question many times. Actually, Canada, there's a common misconception around Canada. I think we're overshadowed by the sensationalism of the US, but Canada is extremely inexpensive. It has a massive poverty issue, drug issue. The cost of food, like for example, a salad, like, you know how you get a salad for 89 euros, a salad in North America is $3 to $4. So if you kind of frame it in this way, Canada is not sustainable from an economic sense. You have to work really hard. I know friends who work 2 jobs and make over 100K and work 2 jobs and have to live with someone. And whereas here, again, like, it's inexpensive. Like for example, my apartment, I have 3 rooms, 3 balconies, 77 meters square. I pay relatively a decent price, like 900 euro. Whereas in Canada, that would cost me 5,000 euro.
Oh,
Amazing.
So there's a really big misconception about the economics of Canada. I think culturally we are extremely diverse. We do have systems in place that makes us more attractable in comparison to the US. And I think that's where a lot of people's rationalization comes from, because it's a constant comparison to the United States. But we are still a part of America. We are still a capitalistic structure, one of the most accelerated versions of capitalism. And that comes with a high cost of living.
Wow, that's crazy.
Amazing. I mean, it's intriguing from my perspective, to be honest, because there is a lot of, complexity to choosing a location where you want to live, because there's always pros and cons. And at the end of the day, you have to go with what, fees,
what's feasible and
what you feel personally. There are more pros than there are cons. So of course I can understand what she's saying and where she's coming from as well. Because after I left Nigeria as well, I went to do my masters in London. So obviously when I visited Berlin, I was like, okay, it's cool. Cost of living is quite efficient. Almost everyone speaks English. I mean, even if it's not so good, but it is way better than what I imagined and what I expected as well. But I don't think you've felt anywhere close to how you guys have felt in terms of living here, because I have a totally different experience.
Yeah.
And I also understand for you is totally different as well, because I think everyone is unique and they go through life or through situations differently, and depending on what you encounter as well, that also determine. But before you though, so what would you say is your biggest struggle in terms of integrating or fitting into Berlin or Germany as a whole in general after moving from Canada to here?
I think the biggest struggle is being misunderstood and also overlooked, in the sense that I think people trivialize the emotional and mental plight that Black women go through here. I think that Germans are delusional in terms of acceptance. They believe that they're extremely progressive and tolerant, and they are not. I think they like to pacify, and they are non-confrontational, but I think not being non-confrontational is actually what's limiting them because they sweep a lot of things under the rug. And it's difficult to be able to have real conversations and make transcendent change when you're not actually discussing the real issues at hand, when you are concealing and bypassing through deflection. So I think it's very hard actually to have real connections, feeling support. I think also a lot of Germans have not interacted with many Black women who are strong, not in the sense of like, I want to do everything myself and independent, but just not palatable or agreeable. I think they're used to this immigrant narrative where it's this kind of despondent, subservient response. And I think when you come from a background where you're highly educated, where you're well traveled, where you're ambitious, I don't think they understand how to digest that. And
I have to agree. And it seems like whenever you want to point out something that you're not feeling comfortable with, like if you feel attacked in some way, they always want to say, okay, why are you now you're putting up the red card, the race card, you know, it's like, you know, you feel some sort of way and they don't want to accept that this is how you're treating them. And it's like, no, why are you putting up the race card? Or why is this? I feel like it's a sensitive issue that we actually need to educate. And it's good that you're here. We're pointing that out. And they need to know.
I need to ask as well, Joe, are you sure? Are you guys actually ready for that conversation? Because sometimes we can say people are not, you know, actually having conversations or open about it. But then when they do, it can be a totally different opinion from you. So the question now is, are you willing or will you be able to accept someone else's opinion when you're fully open, you know, and have that conversation at that point in time?
I feel like we do want to speak about this, but like you said, people always sweep things underneath.
Yeah, exactly.
The rug,
if they don't, will you accept their own thoughts or their own opinion about that? About any topic in general, if they don't sweep it under the carpet and they talk to you about it and you have that conversation, do you think you're ready to actually explore that angle from their opinion per se?
I come from a culture where race is very prominent and racial issues are very prominent, where we have a better understanding of it. So I've been having these conversations far beyond where Germany's at. I think Germany culturally is still in the 90s. And they have not really progressed further than this in terms of looking at the world from an objective and progressive point of view. I think there is faux liberalism where it's actually kind of championed by a lot of rich white kids who believe that they are doing something different because they've moved to Berlin and they drink and they smoke, and then it contradicts their family upbringing. But I come from a culture where we talk about race very openly. Our racial plight and exhibitions of race are very brazen. So I would not be afraid to have difficult conversations because I come from a confrontational culture.
So again, right? So in terms of race, so would you say Canada and America were similar in terms of that conversation? Because absolutely. So
really?
This brings me to my next question. If it is absolutely, because for me, I think America or North America basically try as much as possible to sweep race conversation underneath the carpet than anywhere in the world. I can tell you because now there's so much conversation on what books per se can be spoken about in terms of race, on the history of slavery, on all of the shitty history that occurred as well, right? But I think Germany hasn't been hasn't in any way shy away from talking about what it did in World War II, how to avoid that, how to move past it, right? So I would say at the end of the day, it depends on where you come, what the situation is and where you're coming from in terms of that conversation. Because one, I mean, I don't know. So probably they owned some slave back in the day, but not as crazy as it was in North America, right? So totally different. Right. So I mean, I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying not as much. And I think one thing they've been able to do, the majority of the nuances they caused during the Second World War, they've been able to to talk about it, to find a way past it, and try to make sure it doesn't happen anymore. So that's why I don't totally agree you saying they don't want to talk about it, because I think Germans are people who are always expressive of situations like that. So of course, some people can shy away from that conversation because it's uncomfortable, but I think they also look into that deeply as well. I can also use an example from my hometown, Benin City. There were some ads that was being kept in the German museum. They were open to have a conversation to returning it back to my hometown. So, and they did that as well. But the British were like, no, we will never do that. But they say, okay, we took it illegally, but they would never return it, right? So again, I'm not saying they're also open as well. I'm just saying generally, when it comes to situations like that, I would say they discuss it more. If they want to discuss it, they discuss it more genuinely than I would say the British or American does. Because an American can say, yeah, I'm not a racist, but if you go look at his test, he's a fucking racist, right? So yeah, that's just my thought or my view of them as well. And like I said, everyone has a different experience, generally speaking.
So I completely disagree. I think you're speaking about anomalies within a German context. German citizens don't even know that Germany colonized Namibia. And when you bring up things like the Second World War, I think that is a simplistic argument to talk about the very complex issues affecting other races. I think, yes, thank God that you've acknowledged that you were, conducted one of the most egregious acts in human history, but there are other acts that you conducted as well that you still don't acknowledge. And also you say that Germany is not trying to recreate such harm. It literally is doing the exact same thing in support of Israel in the conflict of the Middle East with Palestine. And Israel. So it is recreating history, and history is usually cyclical. So I don't agree with that assertion. And also in the case of North America, we are actually having conversations about race. What you are seeing in terms of the regression has been in the last 2 years. But if you go to North America, there are cultural enclaves where people are actually having real conversations about racial issues. For example, we have African studies programs. We have, and you can get degrees in that. We have critical race theories that we're still discussing in Canada. And also, let's not create a hybridization of what is happening in Canada and the US, because the policies, the educational systems are very different. And so I'm Canadian, so I can speak on that. We are talking about race in a very real way, in a very structural way, and we do not shy away from it. Germans shy away from race. When I've spoken to many white Germans and I tell them about my issues in Germany and my experiences, I've been given the All Hail Hitler sign. I've been followed home 4 times by white men. I have been spit on. And when I tell them these are my experiences, there is a complete denialism. So I don't agree with that. And I think also too, as a black men in Germany are treated way differently than black women in Germany. Black men are appreciated in Germany. Black men are put in a cultural sense, in a societal sense, you are seen as interesting, whereas black women are seen as lesser.
An experience,
a novelty in which you can approach voyeuristically, and it's dehumanizing. I was a member at Soho House, and I remember seeing a black man sitting there, and there was all these white women around him glorifying him, gawking at the fact that he was existing. And I think black men need to acknowledge that their lived experience in Germany is disproportional to that of a black woman in Germany.
Even when it also comes to, let's say, dating experiences, for example, white women are seen dating more black men than the other way around. Yeah. Black women are struggling to actually find a partner that's of the other race. Not that that's important, but like you said, we're looked at like, I feel like we're unappreciated. I work in a hospital. I'm probably like the only black on the station. I always say this to a lot of my friends. They don't see black nurses. It's rare. It's like, it's not rare, but it's like, it's not common to see a black nurse. So when they see me, they start asking questions. They start asking questions about my hair, my eyelashes, my skin, etc., etc. So, it is demeaning. It is discouraging, knowing that, you know, people still look at us as if like we're shit. I'm sorry to say.
No,
Like second class, second class citizens. And I'm not here to diminish the struggles of Black men in Germany. I think, firstly, being Black comes with its fair share of challenges in general.
Yeah.
But I also think that Black men have this unique condition that they're oppressed by racism, but also amplified by patriarchy. So you exist in this kind of weird negotiation that also allows you to, in some ways, have privileges and in other ways not. Whereas Black women are just, you know, we are double negative. We are facing racism. We are facing patriarchy. We're facing a lot of issues that we have such a difficult time in terms of ascending towards upward mobility. And I think we suffer alone in silence. Even if you look at statistics in North America, white men have categorically been the highest to commit suicide. And now Black women are just trailing behind them.
Yeah, that was also going to be my, you know, my follow-up question as well, right? Because, you know, as a Black woman living abroad, right? So how, because one, I know it's very, you know, it's very difficult. I wouldn't, maybe not entirely difficult, but it's very, not easy to make friends, you know, one on the same level, two that would understand what you're feeling, and, you know, and also what you're saying at every point in time. Because for guys, sometimes it can be easy because I can see another Black guy. I don't know, there's this African thing, right? So I don't know if anyone has noticed, you know, as a Black man, if you're walking on the street and you see like another Black person, you might, you know, tend to like just, you know, nod your head. Yeah, just nod your head, right? So it's easy. It can be easy for us to like to make friends, to talk to people, right? And just be in that unique space where we're bonding through alcohol, through whatever it is at the point in time. But I think for women it's absolutely different. It's different because one, you cannot bond over a beer, or you cannot bond over sport, right? You bond over, you know, I mean, I don't know what you guys bond over. To be honest, I'm not a woman, so I don't know. But I'm just thinking it's different bonding over, you know, like a beer or alcohol. It can be different. So I think finding that aspect can be very difficult. And then when you don't have those kind of, you know, people or backbone around you, you tend to just, tend to just live in there alone. And then it makes it much more difficult, because if you're experiencing difficulty, there's no one giving you advice on how to go about it. There's no one giving you sort of like, you know, that's a shitty situation. What can we do about it? How can you move on? And all that. So it's just my thought from my observation. So, you know, so but for you, what would you say is one of the biggest struggle in terms of not being, you know, alone, or not going through these experiences alone in a city or wherever you are abroad?
I think that Berlin is a unique city in the sense that what makes the city attractable is diametrically opposed to me as a person. I don't drink. I don't like to club. I don't like to go out. And majority of my time is spent in the gym, working or traveling. So I think that also creates an alienization in terms of group meetings, because I think a lot of the kind of connections are made through going out, drinking, and other things. So I have a unique experience there. And I find that I also think that we need to make a distinction, right? I think we're talking about connecting with the Germans, and we're not taking in the international perspective, where there's a lot of expats who live here, where that is the predominance of my friendships, where there is connection there, because we have an oppositional force against us, which is the German state and German people. I don't think I've yet to find an expats who resoundingly say that they love Germany. I mean, I've never had that in the last 4 years of living here. It's always been, I cannot stand being here, but I'm here for a reason. And, you know, and I think that, again, like, while I'm critiquing something, I chose to be here. So I do acknowledge that there is a level of accountability that I need to take. Like, nobody's forcing my hand here. Nobody's nobody's forcing my hand here. And I'm here because the ends justifies the mean. This is a very intentional experience for me. I moved here, and I think most immigrants move here for a reason. And this is another thing that this journey has allowed me to appreciate. I think the immigrant experience, I think immigrants are people that really need to be applauded, because the level of mental degradation on all fronts, whatever level of immigration that you go through, devoid of being black, purple, green, yellow, immigration is so hard. Everything about your world is turned upside down, and you need to find ways to not only satiate yourself, but create comfortability in a society that is extremely foreign to you. Yeah. And even if you speak the language, there's always a disconnect. There is always a disconnect. So I think this is what this experience has shown me in a very real way.
Yeah. Again, I totally agree. I agree on that as well. There's these African proverbs. There's no way better than home.
Yeah.
Right. So we have that. We have that as well, because that's what you're familiar with. But just to go a bit further, right? So what would you say has been, because you mentioned a few challenges you've been through. So what would you say has been your biggest challenge? And two, do you think that was because of it's you as a black woman, and how have you navigated that aspect of navigating through racism and bias in from that angle after that challenge as well?
Basically, how are you dealing with it?
Yeah, I mean, I immigrated here with my best friend. She's white, 25% German, and I see how her settlement in Germany is so different from my settlement. She's gone on to do, we both done great things with our time here, but I think the level of acceptance that she's been able to experience because she exists in a white body is completely different than mine. And the challenges that I faced here is that, my sleep has completely declined. I'm a bit tired today because I've gotten 5 hours of sleep. I actually spoken to a lot of black people and black women here that we suffer from insomnia. I don't know why this is the case. I used to sleep in Canada 14, 12, 11 hours. And here, if I'm lucky, I get 6. I have health issues. I never went to the doctor. I'm an extremely healthy person. I train 7 days a week, powerlifting, Muay Thai, running. I don't drink alcohol. Haven't drank in 7 years. I don't eat anything bad. From a physiological sense, I'm an extremely healthy person. But every 2 weeks, I'm in the doctors because there's something wrong, and it is more so mental than actual physiological. And I think living here, what it's been the most difficult is my mental health. I've never. Even today coming here, I broke down because I'm like, this is so difficult to exist here. I'm like kicking myself in every day and having existential crisis to be like, why did I do this to myself? Like, what was the reason? Like, I had a very comfortable life in Canada. I had the support of my friends and the support of my family. Every day wasn't a challenge, because in Germany, the simplest things, the most banal things are a challenge. Calling someone to, for example, Monday, my sink, my toilet, and my bathtub were clogged. It took 32, and I'm going to be a little bit graphic, like there was unseemly water coming out, I was scared of water damage, not being able to shower, so I was devastated, and I had to employ the support of 3 of my friends who were calling back to back, make up very hysterical stories so that they could really deal with this issue. In Canada, I call 10 minutes, someone's there, and it's done. But it took 32 hours to fix a very simplistic problem. And even when you deal with bureaucratic issues, not only just for, immigrants, but also Germans, it's like this system and this culture is predicated on hardness. I don't understand why Germans like hardness. It's like there is no beauty. There's no beauty in existing in hardship. I'm dating someone currently, and he comes from wealthy upbringing, and I come from an immigrant background. So it's interesting to exist, and he doesn't take support from his parents because I want to bootstrap it. I want to work hard. I'm like, I don't find it admirable actually to suffer. And I think a lot of Black people, as Black women, have been told that it is a good thing. You're worthy if you've gone through adversity. You're worthy if you struggled. What the actual fuck is that? You know, I just find that it's, and I think that this is something that Germany wears as a badge of honor, that if you've gone through adversity, you're doing it right. So, and it's seeped into every facet of the culture, making things hard for no fucking reason. So, yeah.
It makes so much sense. I wish I could express myself the way you express yourself,
it's
because
like
people would understand me so much more, because literally exactly how you're feeling is how I feel. I just tend to lose words a lot. This is the struggle that I tend to face all the time. Like you said, bureaucracy, trying to go to the immigration office just to get a freaking appointment, just so you can get a visa, just so you can get an ID, so you can stay, so you can take care of their grandparents, grandmothers, or whatever the case is. It's just so hard. Even school, it's challenging, and that makes me so furious. It's like, why is it that we have to go through all of these negative and challenging experiences for you to become someone?
Yeah. Or like, you know, even the fact that I think immigrants move, like the whole hysteria and like xenophobia around immigration is just baffling to me, because immigrants move here for a better life. Immigrants work 10 times as hard as like native people of a state. You know, when people are like, oh, these people are taking our jobs, they don't work hard. Do you know that in Germany, 50% of the people on welfare are Germans? Literally. 50% of the people on welfare are Germans, white Germans. So who's taking your jobs? Who's not working hard? We come here and we work our ass off. And actually that's also a reason for like mental degradation. I worked my fucking ass off, you know, to attain certain things. And I'm very proud of things that I've been able to accomplish in a very short amount of time, which I will credit Germany to, and just also like the lack of competition. So I can really just bypass through a lot of people. But everything, I think the older I get, the more I realize things come with a price, but you need to choose your price.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so you guys have touched on a lot of points, and I want to just address, you know, a few things. So again, from my perspective, as you know, as a man, and also as a Black immigrant living in Germany as well. Yeah, so I think, you know, most of what you guys have touched, you know, actually, you know, all what you've touched are good point, an ideal point. I really agree with you guys that, you know, it's so difficult to live here in Germany, right? I think sometimes it's too broke. Every time it's too bureaucratic, and I think some things should be made easy, because there are a lot of stuff that should be made, you know, really easy for. I mean, it's also for the comfort of your life.
Yeah,
as well,
agreed.
Right? Yeah. You know, but again, why I'm not so crazy about it, because I also think from the aspect of some immigrants, right, they also feel, or they might also disagree with you, that they feel they're lucky to be here and working and making ends meet, because they would be having it totally different from where they're coming from. Right. So I'm trying to find a middle ground, right? Because at the same time, if we just talk, you know, saying Germany is too bureaucratic and all of that, then we also miss the point that, you know, some people would appreciate it from the other side and say, hey, you know, I mean, it's bureaucracy. If I go wait in an office for 5 hours, I don't mind. Rather than, let's say, if I'm in my country, if I'm waiting for like 2 hours and someone with a lot of money just come in and pay their way in, they will go before me, right? But here, you know, okay, if we're all waiting here, we're all waiting for 5 hours, right? So that's also one point we have to see as well. And also another point is, in terms of immigrant being, you know, working times too, and all of that. So one thing you also have to know as well is, a lot of immigrants can just work the regular 12 hours and just chill, right? But another thing is, some people here, they need to feed their family back home, and then they need to send money back home. So I think we've had this conversation at one point in time with Alison as well, where you have a random uncle calling you and all of that, right? So one, you have your personal expenses, and you also have a lot to do as well. And also the thing is, well, some of us, we come from countries where we're very ambitious. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you're very ambitious. You want to hit higher standard, you want to grow higher, especially as a Nigerian, to be honest, right? So it doesn't matter. You always want to grow and move forward at any point in time. So I also disagree, because at the same time, this is not just Germany, in the entirety of Europe, people are more relaxed and not so, crazy excessive in terms of working and achieving a lot compared to the US and compared to, to Canada as well. So the US is absolutely crazy, because I know people who work 2 jobs, they're earning, 150 to 200K here, and it's still not satisfied. So of course, there might be your wants and needs, but here people also will relax in terms of the socio-economic structure that has been in place, and also in terms of the immediate environment of people being relaxed and not crazy about working and all of that. So I would say there's also a way to alleviate yourself from being pressured if you want to just have the bare minimum.
Yeah, but you're assuming that we want the bare minimum.
Exactly. But what comes with not having the bare minimum is you also have to, do times 2 than every other person around you. So of course, as an immigrant, you have to do times 3, multiple. So I totally understand that. But I think that's the mindset anyone should have if you're leaving their comfort zone and going outside. That is why we're always telling people, leave your comfort zone, because if you leave your comfort zone, you're doing more to achieve what you'll be able to achieve less when you're in your comfort zone.
Okay, so
generally speaking,
I love how you pointed out that North Americans work a lot and are making good money, but do not see most of the times the fruits of their labor, and that's just because, again, relative economies, right? It's very expensive to live in North America, and I would disagree in the sense that people in Germany have to work 10 times as hard or immigrants have to work 10 times as hard in order to be successful.
I wouldn't say 10 times, but
my point is the salaries here are quite low, right?
Exactly.
I'm getting hopefully my visa renewed, and I hired a service to do it for me because I'm very service oriented. If I don't want to do something, I hire. And they were looking over my finances, and I'm self-employed, and they were like, "Oh wow, you made quite a decent amount of money in compare." And I was like, "Oh okay," because I was worried actually about that. And they're like, "No, we have people who made like 10,000 euro in a year, and they're living very comfortably." And so I think. I think that that's something to address. I think that this state allows you to exist in comfortability. It also allows you to exist in mediocrity.
Thank you. That's the thing. It's the states. Not the people. I know Germans.
The people are a product of the state. So you are socialized. You are socialized in an environment, and that is what you become. And so what Germans have a faulty reasoning is that they do not challenge the state. They do not question why certain things are in existence. This is why places like France are so championed, because Vive la Révolution. They will fight for whatever they goddamn want. In France, it's illegal to call someone on a Sunday for work. It is illegal. Because they fought for that.
Nice.
They fought for that. They fought for their liberties.
It's also
but
Germany does not.
Germans do not fight for their liberties. They take things exactly the way it is, and they do not challenge the status quo. No. And this is what I think people are questioning. Challenge something. If something, I've seen many scenes like going on the U-Bahn, S-Bahn, where people are confronted with harm, and the level of cachet and, stand-by approach that Germans take is indicative of their culture and their socialization. Someone is in a state of harm and you're doing this.
You're just looking.
You're doing this as if it doesn't exist. Whereas in North America, if someone is in a state of harm, God, everybody, what the fuck? We help. And so I think Berlin this claim is rampant amongst, cosmopolitan cities, but Berlin has this unique, profound individualistic take. Germans are very me. And if it's not me, then I don't care. I absolve myself of any responsibility. And I mean,
the sad thing, that's not going to change.
And
it has to
change because and it will change because if you look at immigration policies, Germany has become more lax in terms of letting people in because it's called a youth bulge. It's a political phenomenon and sociological phenomenon in which the older generation surpasses the younger generation. They don't have the numbers. Germans do not have the numbers to sustain an economy. That is the reality. And this is why they have laxed their requirements on citizenship, which is why I'm applying, because they need immigrants. And a lot of European states have this same phenomenon. They need immigrants. So Germany will, whether it's by thunder or fire or kicking and screaming, you have to change. And they're also going to change the language requirements because immigrants predominantly speak English. Do you know Germany is, like in the EU, the standard language is English. And Germany is one of the few countries in the EU that goes against this. Where they will, and they, you know what? It's so interesting. They learn English in school. They learn English in school.
But then when you speak to them, they're like, I don't know how to.
I don't know. Again, difficulty. Again, trying to break your legs and make you assimilate. Because of what?
You have to learn German.
Because of what? Because no, but
what can I tell you why? Are you asking or you're just asking generally?
No, tell me why.
Hey, so every culture have their cultural mindset and idea. So it's a cultural thing. It's the same way I wouldn't go to Northern Nigeria and tell them, hey, this is your culture, but now you have to, act in a certain way. So I totally agree. But
don't rely on immigrants to come in and do the remedial jobs and to help your economy if you don't want to also be accommodating to them.
And accommodating as well. So I totally agree with your point that, of course, you need to, so everyone needs to, develop and, evolve and move past, old cultures and, move closer to what's new and in your culture and accommodate everyone as well. So I agree with that. But all I'm saying is the reason why I don't get angry about it is I have understood, of course, every culture have their cultural mindset and idea. So it's a cultural thing. It's the same way I wouldn't go to Northern Nigeria and tell them, hey, this is your culture, but now you have to, act in a certain way. So I totally agree. But
don't rely on immigrants to come in and do the remedial jobs and to help your economy if you don't want to also be accommodating to them.
And accommodating as well. So I totally agree with your point that, of course, you need to, so everyone needs to, develop and, evolve and move past, old cultures and, move closer to what's new and in your culture and accommodate everyone as well. So I agree with that. But all I'm saying is the reason why I don't get angry about it is I have understood, come to the assessment that, okay, this is their culture, right? So of course it's going to change gradually, or if they don't want to change, it's their business. So I am only going to react according to myself. And, and what I think is the ideal way to react while following the rules. So Germans. Sorry, I'll just just one more thing. Germans have this mindset that if it isn't broken, we're not fixing it.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's why they make their cars, their manufacturing so efficient, so good that we don't want it to get broken, so we don't need to fix it. So if it's not broken, they don't fix it. If you go somewhere, right, new, there's a different societal culture and societal norms. So the thing as someone who is an expert is you try to fit it into that societal norms as well. So hey, I cannot speak German for shit. I've been here for like 5.5 years, and my German is still really bad. I'm trying to improve it. Don't worry, guys. I'm trying to improve it. But I wouldn't expect me going to, let's say, Canada, for example, and I speak just Spanish, and I expect people to start speaking Spanish instead of me, trying to speak English as well. So that's also where I think about it from that perspective as well in between, right? So I'm not saying those people there, if they can't speak Spanish, they shouldn't speak Spanish with me and be more open and flexible. But I'm just saying I need to also understand and not get and not be too negative if they don't want me, if they want me to speak English since I'm living there. So I'm just saying that from terms of like, cultural differences.
I just want to say, like, at least try. They do. It's not like you don't. If it's an elderly person, you understand. They learned Russian and Latin in high school.
Yeah.
That was like 50 years ago. But like the younger generation, people in their 40s, they do learn English in school, and they do learn English when they go on holiday. Because they do speak about going on holiday a lot. So it's not like they just don't. They speak, they're not, so they do have an option to speak English. It's not like they completely can't. And I do, however, understand when people say, okay, you know what? When immigrants come into our country, please learn the language. That's fully understandable. They have every right to say that. But then the fact that they completely shut out.
Yeah.
When you want to speak to them and say, okay, could you help me? Can you speak English? They'll be like, no, ich kann nicht. Ich mein Deutsch schlecht, English, nein. So,
Yeah, I mean, again, using Canada as an example in comparison to Germany is really a false equivalency. Canadians are so patient. If someone comes up to me and they don't speak a lick of English and they're trying to translate in Spanish, I will wait with them.
Google
and
Translate.
I will work with them. And this is how Canadians are. Oh, okay. You don't speak English? Okay. Let's figure out a way. German is a complete cut. No, not my problem. Speak fucking German. Actually, the first week of living here, me and my friend went to the grocery store and it's the first week, huh? And a white man shouted, German man, in German, you don't speak English. I'm like, we moved here a fucking week ago. Like, sir, shut the fuck up. Like, but I love your point because Germans are everywhere. They travel everywhere. They are very well-traveled people.
They go to Mallorca.
Yeah, they're very well-traveled people.
True.
So what is this? This is implicit. This is you trying to make other people feel bad because you are so brainwashed to struggle above anything else. You like Wahala. Like these people like Wahala. Like this is the case. They like Wahala. They like problem and it makes them feel good. It is slightly sadistic. I mean, it also looks at their...
So, for those who don't know what Wahala means you just like problems, like literally problems after problems.
Dead.
Yeah. So I just want to make one statement, Chidera. So I'm not using Canada because it's the only country I will use as a point of reference. I'm using it because that's where you grew up. And, and I just feel that's what you can relate to more. So, which is why I'm using it as a point of reference in this case, because then I can be using any other country. I can be using Nigeria, for example.
Yeah, but Nigerians are more accommodating.
Or South Africa.
But Nigerians are more accommodating.
Yeah.
Do you know the amount of, so again, for me, Nigeria is the best place in the world, right? But you know the amount of tribalism and, and religious-ism that is also there as well. So people are very, are very religious, and there's this tiny bit of religious, diversion, and also tribalistic as well. And there's also tribalistic diversion as well.
But if a German was to come to your country, sorry to just cut you off. If a German was to come to your country, and if they're coming to Lagos and they have no idea where they are, they're going to ask you for directions. How would you approach this person? They're obviously going to be more accommodation to.
Yeah, of course,
even if they don't speak English, right?
Way more. No, I know. I know that.
Despite
I'm not
the tribalism and
so I'm not defending that, right? So
what is your agenda?
Me saying that is just basically I'm coming from the aspect of cultural differences, right? So that's their culture. That's how their society runs. So I cannot come here.
But not every cultural difference is right. I think this is the thing that we're trying to adjudicate over right and wrong. Some cultural differences are
there's no right or wrong in terms except it's barbaric. There's no right or wrong in terms of cultural differences.
But some cultural differences are shit.
Yeah, right or wrong is subjective in this case. So,
but I still am standing by my statement. I think some cultural differences are shit. Why do you want to make people feel bad? Why do you want? Why? Like the thing about Canada that it's the only comparison that I have is that immigrants struggle, but you could, if you talk to an immigrant in Canada, they'll be like, I love being here. I love being here. I love being here. You know why? Because we're fucking accommodating. We are fucking open. We are not trying to make you hate our country.
Yeah.
We are trying our very best to make you feel seen and understood. And yes, there are nuances for sure. I'm not saying that Canada's perfect. I mean, if I was, I wouldn't be here. But my thing is, now that I have this duality, now that I can have a moment to really compare and contrast, damn, I got lucky. My parents were supposed to in immigration Canada and the United States. I am so grateful I grew up in Canada. I am so grateful that I grew up in a country where I see what a melting pot actually looks like. And the thing that I find it so hilarious about Berlin is that these people brand themselves as multicultural, a melting pot that exists in a consortium of difference, and it's not true. Go to America, go to Canada, go actually to London,
go to London,
go to Paris.
Go to London,
There are cultural enclaves that exist. In Canada we have Polish town, we have Chinatown, we have Jamaica town, we have Nigeria town, we have every town, every ethnicity, every culture.
Afrikanische.
Yes, we have
Afrikanische in Reading.
We have. Yeah, okay. Yeah, one reference that you can reference. And then Turkish,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, you are a country that is so advanced, but you're so culturally behind. It's a contradiction sometimes to live here.
Yeah.
And I actually have no idea how this country got branded as efficient. Like, nothing in this country is efficient. Nothing works. Nothing works. Nothing works. And
I'm telling you. Sorry, no, go on. Go on.
I just don't understand. And again, like, I chose to be here. I do acknowledge that. I do take accountability in that fact. I have also begrudgingly decided not to learn German, but I have to because of the citizenship. So I acknowledge that there is a dissonance in terms of communication because of language. I've also dated Germans, and I've seen how that has been a variable that has eroded our relationships because we can never fully understand ourselves because we don't speak the same language. The cultures are not the same. Even like dating here, walking coffee. What is that? Am I a dog? Like, am I a dog?
Oh my gosh, I was telling my friend the same thing the other day.
And then like even when you say to them, that's not a part of my culture. I don't come from that. Well, it's like, well, it's my culture. I'm like, then you know what? You're not going to date me. You're not going to get and that's the thing. These Germans are not willing to meet you halfway. They are not willing to meet you halfway. I am willing to meet you halfway. I am willing to learn, to understand your culture. I am so willing, but please be negotiable. And this is what immigrants are, negotiable. We come into a country and we are not entitled actually.
No, never. I haven't seen any who is entitled.
From all strokes, we go into a country for better. We know this is a fucking intentional decision.
Yeah.
And we say to ourselves, we are going to do whatever we can to achieve that betterment. If that means that, okay, I have to learn a language. If that means that sometimes I have to be silenced, whatever. Yeah. But the country in which someone is trying so hard to be a part of, you're not trying to be negotiable. You're not making it easy. You're not making it easy. You're not seeing how much this person is putting in, is going through.
Absolutely.
I have a friend every day. I'm overcome with emotion because this is so hard. I don't have my closest friends, whatever. I'm a single woman living here, whatever. And my German friend, be positive. It's okay. Not everything has to be bad. I'm like, you have no idea what this is like.
Because for her, it's like, okay, it's easy. Life is beautiful.
Life is, and I'm like, you are so delusional. And Germans, sometimes I'm like, you guys are assholes because you don't understand how good you have it. You live in a social welfare state. You can quit your job and still get money from the government for 6-8 months. In Canada, if someone fires you, you're fired. If in Nigeria, in America, if someone fires you, you're fucking fired. If you're lucky, you get 3 months salary. But here, you people can coast off the government. You can coast off of a good healthcare system. You don't even appreciate your own country.
You're also paying for the payment while you're working though. That's why the taxes are so high.
Exactly.
And so if you get the money from the government, it's what you paid for.
100%. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing in Canada. We pay high taxes, but it's not the same. We pay high taxes in Canada, but it's not the same. You are 3 months. You have to find a job.
Again, you see,
and if you don't find
that's also one of the advantages of living in Germany as well, because you have good socioeconomic issues and where you pay your taxes and you see what your taxes is being used for afterwards.
But also, this is I never shied away from identifying the pros of living there.
The pros of living as well.
I've said it several times that this place has allowed me upward mobility. It's allowed me to move in industries, given the fact that I grew up in a country where I knew the value of working hard. Yeah. Whereas Germans actually don't know the value of working hard. I know that is a very brazen statement, but I don't think they really know the value of working hard. You have people who are still in university at 35, 40, because to them it's a vacation.
Yeah, I think
it's an enjoyment. I don't understand.
Yeah, I felt like going to school.
I think that's one thing.
Must be nice.
It must be nice.
Yeah, I think that's one thing for sure. I see as awkward though. I see as awkward because basically at some point in some countries you don't have the you don't even have the time to think about furthering your studies in terms of going to school to do your PhD. I think Alisa is way more excited than me. I don't know why. She's like, I see someone who resonates with me.
Yeah, it's just so nice.
And speaking the same language. Now, I wanted to get to one key point though. So you've told us about your experiences and what you've seen and what you've gone through so far in Germany and in Berlin. So there's something, that recently occurred. I think, there's a video which you were a part of, I think recording it as well, so I've watched it and it was a difficult sight to see. It was, cringy and weird and annoying, for me personally, and, and also disrespectful to you as well. I just, wanted to
touch up on that.
Just touch a little bit about it, right? So, just tell us a little bit how it was like for you, how it's like for you to go through that experience, and also how you're handling it after that traumatic experience. So can you just give us a bit of
insight?
Yeah. I mean, on August, I think it was mid-August, police entered my home unannounced. Two men first entered my bedroom. I was watching TV on my laptop naked, and it was the dark. And I saw two figures by my door. And of course, as a woman, that's very frightening.
Yeah.
As a woman who's also experienced sexual assault, the first thing you think to yourself, you're going to get raped. They did not announce themselves. They did not say that they were police officers. I jumped up from my bed. I grabbed my glasses and I was able to see them, or their identification, all of which, all the while I was naked. They did not turn around. They did not give me privacy. They watched me in my fullness, which was very dehumanizing and indignant. And then when I proceeded to leave and they also exited my bedroom, I was met with 6 police officers in my front door. And at that point, I grabbed my phone because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I'm, again, from a climate where things with police do escalate. It's not hyperbole. It does happen. I've witnessed it. So I wanted to safeguard myself. And I think not only being in a state of shock from seeing 2 men enter your bedroom, irrespective of their title, and then being confronted with 6 police officers, I just had an outer body experience. And in the video, which, I can't really watch it, because it's quite traumatic just hearing myself and, my tone and my response. I had, a reaction to that lack of, of dignity. I think, my neighbors had, I think, to give more context, this happened on a Tuesday, and on Monday I had lost my key. A locksmith had come into my house to try and open my door. He caused severe damage to the door so that the door looked destroyed. And he charged me quite a bit of money. He wanted to charge me an additional 150 euro to put a handle. And I said no. I had a friend who was a contractor who said that they would do it for me the next day. Unfortunately, I had slept in. They couldn't do it. And so my door looked damaged from the outside. And a neighbor had called because they had assumed someone broke into my home because I didn't have a handle and my door looked damaged. And so that's what led this to all transpire. I think the common misconception is that my door wasn't locked. My door, the locksmith had changed the lock, so my lock doesn't close on the inside from the inside out anymore. Because German homes, if you close the door, it shuts automatically. My door didn't have that, so you close it. If you push through, you can still open it, and I think that's what the police did. But they did not identify themselves. They did not say hello, Polisa. Nothing was done. And my thing is, if you assume that a burglar was there, why would you not safeguard yourself by enunciating yourself? Because you don't even know the harm in which you're walking into. Another thing is that, like, one thing about Germany is the level of bureaucracy and how pedantic they are about bureaucracy. So they know who is assigned to a home. So before doing a check, they would have to identify who's in the home in order to verify that the intruder is in fact an intruder. So they knew who lived in the home, right? So if you knew a woman lives in a home, why not identify yourself? And in posting the video, I really did not believe anybody was going to look at it because at the time I had 17 followers. I posted a year and a half ago, and I was like I had like 200 views on that post. But then in 24 hours, the video went viral. And I think now it's at 35 million views. It was picked up at the height of it by several publications. It went viral on Twitter with 18 million views. I don't know how much it is now. Again, publications are still reaching out to me today to discuss certain things. So yeah, and I think the whole experience was in all traumatic. I'm definitely still, processing it. I don't really like to talk about it in detail because I think I'm a person that tends to disassociate from traumatic experiences. But I think that was kind of like the catalyst for me in terms of my fed upness with Germany. And yeah, it was a very painful experience. I think, there's been a lot of comments, which I've now turned off on the actual video because it was a lot of cruelty from people telling me to unalive myself. I'm a drama queen, they hate me, all these things. So I didn't really want to focus on that. But I think people trying to make me rationalize the situation, I think has been something that's been very aggravating. Because many people assume that they would be calm in that situation. But I'm telling you, if two men entered your home, man, woman, if you're a man, a woman, whatever, they, them, whatever, you would be fucking frightened. You would not know how to respond. And I think the whole situation has changed me, has made me emboldened to really be pursuant in my desire to leave Germany. I find it extremely unsafe. And in the commentary, I said that Germany is not a safe place for Black women. I think that was a statement made more so in my overall collective experience living in Germany. It's not been a safe space for me. It's not been a safe space for many Black women that I have had the fortune of meeting. And yeah, I think that experience was horrific and I deal with it every day. When something moves in my house, I'm frightened, or when I hear odor, I'm frightened, or sometimes at night, I I have some anxiety because who's going to walk into my home, you know? So yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry that you went through that.
I am so sorry as well.
Yeah. You're very strong to, you know, actually be here and actually speak about it without actually, you know, without your voice actually crackling rather, because, you know, things like that are very, you know, we see these things on television, you know, we see things on social media, and then we say, okay, this is something that could possibly not happen, and then it does happen, and then you're like, oh snap. You know, and I just sincerely just hope that it reaches the correct people, and then people do realize that it's unsafe. It's not safe for us to be here. Not even in general, everywhere. We're just not safe. But the question, how have you been able to deal with it? Have you been able to talk to people, talk to friends, families?
I mean, also, you know, I went from like having 17 followers to now almost 50,000. And that came with, on TikTok, I should make that distinction. And that came with a lot of messages. So thousands of people were messaging. You know, it went viral in America, it went viral in Canada, it went viral in Europe. So I think in the beginning, many people were very supportive. And then because I have refrained from speaking about the issue and providing details, I think many people have turned sour. Because everybody wants something. Everybody wants to feel attached to a story.
Want stupid drama.
And I was very, like, I'm a publicist, so I deal with crisis management, and I had to public relate myself. And so I'm in therapy, extensive therapy. I do have support systems. But I'm going back to Canada in 2.5 weeks. My nephew was just born a month ago.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I think him being born was also able to give me some purpose, because prior to that, I was in a deep depression. I think, you know, I lost my sense of just like trying to find meaning why all this happened. But like, I think now I'm going through the motions of everything. I'm going to be away for a while in December. I'm going to Australia, Canada. And so I think I need a break from Germany. I need a break from Berlin. I need to feel peace. I need to not be in a constant state of terror and hyper vigilance. But I think the situation has changed me, but it's also done a really good thing in the sense I am now like, fuck off and fuck you. Because I just, something of that magnitude, I don't think someone can hurt me again. And if you bug me, I don't know. It's like, there's now this casual ambivalence that I have to things where I'm like, well, fuck you and fuck off. I can't really do much for you. And, you know, and I think maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's what I needed to learn. But I'm also trying to stay away from intellectualizing and rationalize everything. I think in our generation now, we over rationalize traumas and things. Some things are just fucking shit. And there's no meaning behind it. Exactly. It's just shit.
It's just shit.
And I don't want to create meaning behind it. It was a shitty experience. It's a shitty experience. Because I sometimes think when you create meaning, you rob yourself of actually being the victim. And I'm not saying that I am a victim. And I'm not saying that that's, in a sense, I'm not wearing it. And this is actually I'm not wearing it as like as an identity marker, as a new characteristic. And I think this is why I didn't speak about this. I didn't capitalize on the virality because I did not want to perpetuate the trauma porn that is always regulated to Black bodies. I also didn't want to be seen as an impoverished Black woman. I'm highly educated. I come from a good family. You know, I'm well traveled. So I didn't also want people to narrate me as this despondent Black woman. And I think a lot of people, someone said you should have made a GoFundMe page.
For what?
And I would, for people to give you money. You know, people exploit their trauma. And I was very, very intentional that this was not going to be me. This was not going to be my story.
It wasn't going to define you.
Define me. And I think, you know, you guys had reached out to me. Chris had reached out to me, just a couple of days after it happened and asked me to be at the podcast. And I said no, because I didn't want to run with this. I didn't want this to, I mean, I guess it's also for opinion. I didn't want people to think that I was using this as a way to make money or as a way to popularize myself. Yeah. I wanted to give myself time to be critical with how I wanted to tell my story and this story, and really use it in a constructive way, as opposed to, I don't know, to perpetuating this narrative that black people are always losing, you know, are always in a situation of trauma. Yeah.
Like I said to you, how people are always saying, you know, we're always using the race card, or we're always using, you know, black women this, black women that. But it's actually true. It's what happened, and it's fact. You have it on paper. Yeah. You know?
And I think a lot of the commentary was, if you had just listened to the police, German police are not like American police, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. You have no idea what it is like to exist.
That wasn't even about listening or not listening. They were in your bedroom.
They were in my bed,
you were naked. Yeah, and looking at them. So they should have been able to go back outside and wait for you to come approach them after. So
turn around.
Yeah, so there's nothing listening or not listening at that point in time. And they weren't giving any instruction at that point in time as well. So I feel it's absolutely wrong to go into people's house without their permission to, you know, telling you to come in. When there's no, you know, like there's no harm being done inside of there. So you know no one is an also, you know there's no critical situation. So you already know there's nothing serious going down there. You just wanted to identify who is in the apartment. So what you can do is, once you're inside, you see someone is there watching a movie and they're naked. The least you could have done is go outside and then announce yourself and tell them to come outside.
But they didn't identify. If you look at the video, none of them asked me for identification.
I'm saying that's what they should have done.
No, but
rather than just stay there.
But the whole logic behind also some of the rationalization is that they were there to check if somebody had robbed, blah, blah, blah. But if I am the intruder, wouldn't you have asked me to verify myself, to authenticate that I live there? And this is the thing, you can see in their faces, they know, like, especially one of the white women, they know they fucked up. Because if you're actually doing a wellness check, if you're actually responding to an intruder, you also need to verify that I'm the person that says that, and I'm the one shouting, I'm a Canadian citizen, I have my visa, so that makes me think, you knew that a black person lived here. You knew that a woman lived here, or not even black, a woman lived here. Because why didn't you ask me for these identifications? Why didn't you ask me for these verifications? So what were you checking?
Absolutely.
So that's my point. Like, what were you checking? And if you know that you did the right thing, if someone knows that they did the right thing, they would have followed through on procedure. Your procedure would have been, please provide us with your documentation that we know that you live here. None of that happened.
They were just
none of that. So I'm like, I'm so confused by the you know, vitriol for the police, because they didn't do their job. They did half of their job, but they did their job inefficiently. So I think that's also something to take into consideration. And also I've been told that this is a very normal practice for German police. And I think in the wake of the current conflict with in the Middle East and in Germany, and the effects it's having in Germany, there's been a lot of militant behavior and brutalism towards police now. German police, yes, to a certain degree, have been kind of laissez-faire and less and more reasonable than American police, if we want to contrast and compare. But if you've witnessed the the current state of Germany, police have become equipped to be more brutal. That is the reality. So I'm sorry, this also coincided with the rise of the brutality of the police. So of course I'm thinking to myself that they could misabuse their power and do something. And also it's like, do you think that police are not corrupt? Do you, like, people are saying, oh, the police weren't there to hurt you or whatever. You know, there's been many instances, especially within black women in North America, where police in impoverished nations go in and rape women all the time and is swept under the rug because they're black women.
Oh, disgusting.
That is an actual reality. And you don't know what someone can do with power. People can abuse power all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me about it. I'm from Nigeria, so I know how the police situation can be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even if they were police and they were there, these men could have raped me. These men could have sexually assaulted me. I don't know who the fuck they are. They didn't identify themselves. They're two large white men entering my fucking house, which they did admit to seeing me naked, by the way. If you watch the video, they did. One of the police officers saw me naked, admitted it. So I think also another thing is that when you put something out, for public consumptions, I think people will form their own narrative.
Yeah.
They will fill in the blanks when they can. So
yeah, whatever suits
their agenda or narrative. And I really was very conscientious of not trying to correct anybody. I mean, and a lot of actually publications took up.
Should.
Yeah, I don't think I should. And I think a lot of publications like Al Jazeera, I think, posted it on their TikTok and they completely misappropriated the situation to incite rage.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's the annoying thing.
The problem.
That's the
But I
annoying
think
thing.
your intention was to create awareness of how, you know.
It wasn't to, you know, I think people have created whatever narrative and people will curate it to fit their particular agenda, and that's totally fine. But I was never here to incite rage. I was more so speaking from my actual lived experience that this has been a very journey for me. And again, I also do acknowledge that I haven't really given people insight to that, which I will. Like, I am planning to speak about this more holistically and turn this into something more constructively, but I need time. You know, I need time to process.
Of course.
I wish I was that person that something happened and I could just go online and cry online in front of thousands of people.
But I'm sorry, but imagine if this happened to you and you said this as a story time on TikTok and you didn't take a video, people would never have believed you. People would be like, oh, well, that's just a story. Maybe a few people would be like, okay, yeah, we believe you, but I don't think it would have caused actually as much as awareness when you didn't record it. So it's good that you did. That's the point I'm trying to get to. Like, if anything like this does happen, make sure you point out the evidence. Because
I think that's another thing. In a case of law and order, evidence is everything. If I didn't have the video, it'd be hearsay.
Oh gosh!
True. I mean,
you wouldn't even be. Yeah.
Imagine those people saying, you know, hey, police in Germany are so, you know, they're good, they're better than America. Imagine you don't have any evidence.
You don't have the evidence. People just look at you like you're delusional.
Exactly. How can you even start a conversation with such people, basically?
Yeah.
So because they already have, you know, this thinking that, you know, they're not like that, so it can never happen. Yeah, absolutely crazy though. Crazy. Yeah, I know. You know, just to bring us down back from the high topic and intense conversation we're having. So because we wanted to try to make it, you know, not go deeper and, you know, and make it, you know, a bit just giving general overview of what happened, of your perspective of what happened and how you've dealt with it. So thanks a lot for giving us that overview.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to say?
You know, that was quite intense one. So I try to bring us down
something
a little
enlightening,
bit.
something positive.
Yes, something positive. So positive. Yeah, tell us. You know, what has been? If you have any positive experiences in Germany, at least, and at least what are the pros you would see of your time living here as well?
Yeah, I mean, Germany has allowed me to do many great things. You know, I've made several career changes in a short amount of time. I had a modeling career, something I wanted to do since I was 16. And I did. And I started a business in public relations, which I manifested at 18. And so, you know, I've gotten to travel, meet new people, and I have my own apartment, you know, where people live in a big gay of like 6 people. And I'm very blessed that I was able to have my own space and, you know, make relationships, fall in love, make memories for myself in my early 20s, and now entering my last year of my 20s. That it's been a journey, it's been growth, and it's come with its fair shares of adversity. But I think what I will take from Berlin is that it's changed who I am. It's made me, I think, a better friend, a better sister, better daughter. It's made me more compassionate to those around me. Also less selfish, I think, and really helped my relationships actually back home, especially with my sisters.
Amazing.
So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that this place has given me introspection, and getting closer to healing myself, because I think prior to coming here, there was a lot of things that were avoided towards my mental health, being neurodivergent, dealing with past traumas. And I think this has been very confronting and brought a lot of things to the surface that I'm hoping that in my 30s, it will do me justice, that I would walk into it with a different mindset. And I think I will. And also this place has made me self-responsible and self-accountable.
Good.
So yeah.
Good for you.
Amazing.
Yeah, good for you.
I think in your 30s, you're even going to be, you know, better,
boss, babe.
greater.
I hope so.
I think there's always stages of maturity as a person, and if you're someone who is determined, there's always going to be growth and maturity at every phases.
Yeah.
So from our conversation, I think this is the first time I'm meeting you, and we're having a conversation. So from what we've spoken about, and now I see you, I think there's always going to be that next stage and that growth. So this,
Good for
nothing
you.
to be worried about. Basically.
Yeah.
That I know for a fact.
I couldn't agree more. Like, I think you're very well spoken, educated, and I think despite the circumstances and despite what happened to you, you do always grow. Like you said, you grow from it and you learn a lot of things. You probably learn more now about the law system and how things work here in Germany. And good for you. And what I would like to say personally, thank you for being here and actually taking your time out of your, your free schedule to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. So just if you find any questions. So one I would want to ask, so from your experiences and from what you've seen so far, so what do you think? I know we've talked about what needs to change basically. So if you can just give us like a quick breakdown on what you think should be the changes, that should occur in Germany. And then we can move on from there basically.
Yeah, I think Germany should make things a little bit easier, not only for immigrants, but also the people that are living here, to have better structures and systems in place, that things are done rapidly as opposed to being stalled. I think Germany can also be more accommodating to English-speaking people and give them time, because German is a very hard language. It's a very difficult language for anybody, and to expect people to learn that very quickly is not fair.
They say that it's difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult. Exactly. So I think being more accommodating in that sense. And also, I think having better resources for women of color, primarily Black women, to feel seen and heard, and to acknowledge that we are suffering, that, our mental health is declining in this environment. And let's talk about it. Let's speak about it. And I think a lot of people are depressed in Berlin. I think a lot of people are depressed in Berlin, and let's talk about it. How do we fix it? It's a growing endemic. And I think I think we need to address this honestly and earnestly instead of sweeping it under the rug.
Great.
And also be more confrontational. I think Germans really need to learn confrontation in a very healthy way.
Wait.
Constructive criticism, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So final words. What would be your final advice to every expat? You know, so you can be an expat. I mean, all expats are immigrants. So coming to Germany. So it doesn't matter how you arrive here. So what would be your advice to to Black women, to women of color, especially of course Black women coming from all over the world to live here, and also that extends to also women of color and also women in general, and then in a larger sense they can also be expats as well. So what would be your advice to them on how to move, even if there are adversities, how to go beyond that and also kind of live here?
Well, one, don't move here.
I know about bro.
No, I would think about it critically if you want to move here. I would also do a diagnostic and a very thorough research on what anecdotal experiences Black women and people of color are having. I did not do that. And if I knew the temperament of Berlin, I wouldn't have moved here. And actually, I eventually want to move to Lisbon. I moved to Lisbon before Germany because I moved during the height of COVID, and Lisbon was fantastic. Like, oh my God.
A lot of people have been
fan-fucking-tastic. Just the energy of being Black, I didn't feel anything. It was just wonderful. And I think that if you are going to move to Berlin, honestly, as a Black woman, do not make this place your home. I think utilize it for what it has and try and find an exit strategy. I think this is with a lot of expats here. Try and find an exit strategy. I think there are better places to immigrate to within Europe. And if you do have the luxury to move, given your passport or your credentials, try it out. And if it doesn't work, come back, because Berlin is cost effective, but it's going to change in a couple of years anyways, because it's becoming more gentrified. And if you are moving here, try and find a community. Try and find at least 2 German friends who can help you with bureaucracy, because you need that. And I don't know. I think you have to. It's so individual, and you have to determine what your fits. Opportunity costs, right? What fits and what doesn't fit, and then make a decision. But I will say, I should have listened to myself 6 months in that I didn't like this place and I should have left. But I'm here now, and I would say if you have a gut feeling that a place isn't for you, leave. You can never heal in a place that traumatizes you. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, you can suture it up and put a cast, but it will never heal. So if you don't feel comfortable in a space, figure out a way to leave.
Awesome. Honestly, again, thanks a lot for joining us. I think we've had an amazing conversation, and I also think our viewers have had, I've watched an amazing episode. So while you're watching it at the point, so thanks once again for coming
very
in.
Insightful,
very insightful,
intriguing.
So would you want anyone of our followers to follow you, or no? Really?
Sure. I mean, my Instagram is Shadera Sunny at Shadera Sunny. Do I spell it?
Yeah. So guys, no, don't worry. We're just gonna put Instagram on the description section.
And my TikTok
is as well.
Chi Sunny.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna put that as well, so and then they can always follow you and watch you as you grow, basically. So again, once again, thanks a lot for joining.
Thank you.
It's a goodbye.
Thanks for having me.
Goodbye from me.
And a bye-bye from me.